Hi Adam, good to see you again. So it's been just over 12 months since we first caught up at the launch of Viva Connections and the excitement surrounding it. So I thought, what better time to grab 35, 40 minutes of your time, talk about how that's gone, what customers are doing, and how this exciting space is evolving. So do you want to give everyone a quick intro to who you are and your role at Microsoft?
So my name's Adam Harmetz. I've been with the company about 18 years, the company being Microsoft's in this case. I'm on the leadership team of Viva. So many of the modules, or a few of the modules within Viva are under my team's responsibility, including topics and connections and a couple more we're working on. And the team also thinks about SharePoint and the SharePoint experiences layer and for sites and pages and portals and the developer platform. Very intentional that those two things are together. Connections is in many ways an evolution of SharePoint for many of those sort of dashboard and aggregating things together scenarios. And that's what I think about every day.
It's a big old bag of things to consider. It covers most of the sort of intranet services, doesn't it? The sites, the pages, experiences, the things we've come to love over the last 4 or 5 years of SharePoint Modern, and it's really exciting to see that evolution into the Viva Connections suite. Viva Connections being part of that wider Viva suite. So how has the Connections proposition been received by customers? Have you got any examples you can share around great success stories with Connections?
Yeah, we're very, very happy with the first 12 months of runway of Viva Connections. Incredibly happy. It's in fact one of the fastest growing products I've ever had a chance to work on. That sort of started from what it is and growing into to how it's been so far. In particular, the mobile attach rate has been incredibly high. The ratio of daily to monthly users is incredibly high, just sort of showing that when we compare that to a typical website or typical intranet, it's driving more mobile usage and more deep engagement. And it's been interesting to look at the different customer sets. So Bloom is one example of a customer. We can share the case study with your audience that was really focused on frontline workers. So really focused on, the factory floor and just keeping people on the same page, people access to tools and apps, decently transactional, but also have a fair amount of, news and information embedded in it. That's sort of one example. And we've seen an awful lot of pickup in sort of frontline worker engagement, just because it's such a great, I think that segment really needs a sort of aggregation, put it all in one place, quick get in, get out framework that, as you know, is really built into the notion of a dashboard. Way quicker to use, get in, get going, and drive daily habits than you'll ever have with a website. And then, there's a customer on the other side of the spectrum like Etix, who uses it for their knowledge workers, and that can also share that case study. One of my favorite quotes is just how much that drove more positive sentiments from employees and more engagement from employees as they're being able to track it. So that's a really business outcome that's being driven by Connections, let alone just sort of a usage outcome of the product itself. And that's really because not only does it have access to tools, but it has a feed where you can have access to various news and information, and sort of combining those two things together using very common mobile paradigms appears to have been playing out very well. We're millions of users in the first year, which is exactly what we were hoping for. It's really great to see. This is also a testament to folks like you and others we were working with even before we released it to really co-develop this with customers such that we could hit the ground running. It doesn't feel like it's been in market for a month because we were co-developing with customers ahead of time. It's sort of, I've been building software for a long while, and it felt like we were able to skip the early product market fit stage and get right into the scale stage with a product like this. Kudos to the team, and also, the strategy, of course, it's an evolution of SharePoint. It's an evolution of things people have been doing. So it was a pretty, as a product maker, a pretty safe bet in terms of moving on to scale pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was a real leap forward, I think, taking the decision to embed Connections as part of the team's mobile app, because the complexity that there used to be around getting the suite of Microsoft 365 apps deployed across a set of devices, especially when the device wasn't corporately owned, was always quite complex. But now it's very simple to go, just pop Teams on your mobile. You've got connections in there. You've got your intranet in your pocket. You've got the things that you need to communicate. And if you're in that frontline worker, you've got walkie-talkie and all of those, shifts and all of those other like first line worker capabilities at hand. And I've seen customers now really starting to get the devices are not just frontline worker, they're not just office role, it's kind of that hybrid working in the sense of going from one device to another and still be remaining as productive. Those stolen moments while you transit between places, or you are on one call while you're sneakily answering another. It's become very, very fingertip ready, hasn't it? The whole experience by being fully integrated. So that's been really, really exciting to see. What sort of challenges have customers articulated with connections being new, and have they taken advantage of the whole suite of capabilities immediately? Have they gone for a phased rollout? How have you seen customers evolving their thinking based on what was, I've got SharePoint site and a collection of sites and hubs, it's an intranet and I understand it, but then it's suddenly shifting that paradigm and really reinventing this idea of what information sites were for and how they're used with connections. How do you see customers sort of making that leap? Are they doing it all big bang, or is it sort of phased in?
Yeah, as a product maker, it's a fascinating challenge. One of the things I tell all the folks on the team is if you're going to work on Viva or SharePoint, you have to think about this customer journey quite a bit. It's easy to build something and hope people will come, but that's not what customers are telling me they need help with. They have an intranet, they probably have SharePoint. How do they evolve that into something that's bleeding edge and the latest from Microsoft? And so we see a fair amount of customers who are using Viva Connections as a way of getting their existing intranet into Teams. And that's great. I mean, that was, we even shipped that ability before we even shipped the mobile experience for Viva Connections, knowing that was something that people really wanted to do. And that is a fine stepping stone. Where you do that, you get people comfortable using Teams for more than just chat and channels. You really sort of start having people see this as a way of, oh, hey, I can coordinate some apps within that. And then you can move on to, for instance, building a dashboard as a next step. And, like I said, a fine way of doing it. Many customers have done it that way. We've also had success of people that really use this as a change moment and really sort of say like, hey, sure, my intranet's going to be accessible in Teams, but I'm really not going to lead with that. I'm really going to lead with the dashboard and the feed because I really want it to be mobile first. I really get the pitch that it's going to drive more engagement. My business timing and funding levels are such that I can afford to take on a project that's not just a flipping a switch so I get my existing intranet in a new way. And that's worked very well too. It's not required that you do the step of intranet and Teams and then move on to something, for instance, mobile friendly or use the dashboard. The dashboard was designed to be more quickly developed than a traditional intranet. That's one of the advantages of it is it's pretty on rails, and it's a lot quicker to develop. And there's a lot of more clicking versus coding, at least to get started, and then obviously a sliding scale. And so you can start there. So we've seen a mix of both.